Perach Samach Tet, lengthy chapter, Lamnatzech al Shoshanim, Lid David, for the leader on Shoshanim, like many, right? What is it? A rose? Is it just talking about a rose? Is it some sort of instrument? One of the things, like usual, that it's unclear. Hoshieni, it's a little bit of a desperate psalm. Hoshieni, Elohim. Kiva'u mayim ad nafesh. Deliver me, God, for the waters have reached my neck. Tavati bi vein mitsula v'ein ma'amad bati v'mamake mayim v'shibolet shitaftani. I'm sinking in slime. There's no place for me to put my foot. I've come into the depths. The flood sweeps me away. Yagati vikari nichar groni kalueni miachel lelohai. I'm weary. My throat is dry. My eyes fail while I wait for God. So here I am sinking into the depths, whether it's an emotional depth, it's a physical depth, it's whatever it might be, and I await God to come and help me. Rabu, misa'arot roshi sonai china matzmu matzmitai oivai sheker asher lo gazalti az ashiv. More than the hairs on my head are those who hate me without reason. Now I have to make a comment that's sort of a funny phrase, because you could have no hair on your head. So, but here, presumably the person who's talking, David, the Mishorer, has a full head of hair. And yet there are so many people there who hate him, who want to destroy him, whose treacherous enemies must I restore what I have not stolen. And not to get, because we have a lot of verses to read, but it's when you think of the hair on the head and hatred, it's hard not to think within the life of David, of the son of Shalom, who was very good looking and was hanged by his hair when he was riding through the thickets, attacking his father and his father's enemies. So the idea of hair being linked with enemies. Elohim, we're in verse 6, Pasuk Vav, Ata yadata li'ivalti v'ashmotai mimcha lo nichadu. God, you know my folly, you know my mistake. My guilty deeds are not hidden for you. I'm not innocent. Al yevoshu vi kovecha Adonai Elohim tzvaot al yikalmu vi mivakshecha Elohei Yisrael. A verse that we're more familiar with than the ones that come up to. Look to those who look to you. God, look to us. Don't disappoint, right? Let those who seek you, God, not be ashamed because of me. Don't punish the Jewish people because I, their leader, have made a mistake. You need to be with them. You need to they put their hope in you. Ki elecha, alecha nasati cherpa kistach lima fanai. It is you. It is for your sake that I have been reviled. That this embarrassment covers my my face. So right, so this is really an anguished individual who's in a place of suffering and of sorrow. It seems in many ways we could say that it's a leader of the Jewish people at a time where he thinks that maybe he's done something wrong, but the people haven't. Continue verse 9. I'm a stranger to my brothers, an alien to my kin. Kinat beitcha achalatni. The cherpot chorfecha naflu alai. My zeal, my desire for your house has been my undoing. The reproaches of those who hate you have fallen upon me. Right? I have remained loyal. I have remained with you, God. But because of that, the enemies, and so often in this Psalms, in the book of Tehillim, we've talked about people who are evil people who get away when God's justice is not clear. When I wept and fasted, I was hated for it. I made a sackcloth of my garment. I became an embarrassment. I was what was used when people would say, "Ay, Nebuch, oh, what a shame, those people." And that's a theme that we have a lot in Yirmiyahu and Eicha and Yechezkel, that idea of the Jewish people becoming a mashal, the parable, the example of a people who has been struck down, who is an embarrassment. And here Shorer is talking about it as himself. Yasichu vi yoshvei sha'ar uniginot shotei shechar. Those who sit in the gate, they talk about me. Even the drunkards, even they come and they're drinking their wine, they're getting drunk, and who do they sing about? Who do they taunt? Who do they make fun of? They make fun of me. Now we have the most well-known verse in this chapter. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai ratzon Elohim berov chastecha aneni be'emet yishecha. As for me, may my prayer, may my tefillah come to you, God, at an 8 ratzon, at a favorable moment. God, in your kindness, in your faithfulness, answer me. Answer me with true deliverance, not partial deliverance. Give me, I need to get out of this, my feet in the mire, my inability, I'm sinking. The water is up to my neck. Hatzileni mititvi al etba'a natzla mi sonai umi ma'ake mayim. Rescue me from the mire. Don't let me sink. Rescue me from my enemies. From the pit of water, from the depths of the water that I'm in. Continuing, al tishtifeni, same words that he started in 15 and 16, going back to the second verse. Al tishtifeni shibolet mayim ve'al tavla'eni mitzula ve'al tetar alai be'er piha. Don't let the floodwaters sweep me away. Don't let the deep swallow me. Let the mouth of the pit not close over me. Aneni Adonai ki tov chastecha kirov rachamecha pnei Eli. Answer me, God, according to your kindness, and according with your mercy. Turn to me. V'al taster panecha me'avdecha ki tsar li maher aneni. Don't hide your face from your servant. I'm in distress. I'm in tsar. I'm in sorrow. Answer me. And Maher, answer me quickly. I am in a desperate situation. Here we have, right, again, a person desperate, the waters, everything. This phrase, of course, in this verse, in verse 18, the idea of haster panecha, the hiding of the face, talking God and the curses of Sefer Dvarim, where God says to the Jewish people at times he will hide his face from them. Anochi haster astir panai. I will hide my face from you on that day. The most difficult things for the Jewish people, and none of the protection from God that we almost expect may be, the wrong term, but that we believe we should have as being God's people and being, following mitzvot and keeping the morals that God has asked us to do. And God at times says we don't do that, and I hide my face from you. And that is the way the Mishorer feels. Karva, we're in verse 19, pasuk Yutet. Karva al nafshi ge'ala leman oivai pideni. Come near to me and redeem me. Come and rescue me from my enemies. Atayadata cherpati uvoshti uchlimati negdecha kol tzorah. You know my mistakes, my shame, my disgrace. You are aware of all of my enemies, right? God, you're the only one. What is being said in these verses? You're the only one who can help me. You're the only one who knows the truth, who knows what I've done wrong, who knows what I deserve, and knows that my enemies have gone too far in what they desire of me. A regular human being can't help me in the same way because they can't possibly give me all of what is needed. Cherpa shavra libi vanusha vakavel anud va'ayin ulemachamim velo matzati. Reproach breaks me. I'm in despair. I hope, but there's no consolation. I look for comforters, but I find none. And we've had this in the past in an earlier chapter. And therefore I turn to God because nobody else is there. Vaitnu vivaruti rosh vilitz ma'i yashkuni chofetz. They give me gall for food, vinegar to quench my thirst. Doesn't say what kind of vinegar it is here, but doesn't sound like something that will help a person. I think of this, and I think also of the chapters maybe of Yirmiyahu, when Yirmiyahu is thrown into the pits of despair, when he's in prison, when he's just trying to tell the Jewish people that they need to not rebel against Nebuchadnezzar. It's not going to end well for them. Maybe things will be better. They need to sometimes figure out how to compromise. But the people don't want to. The rebels don't want to. They want to fight. They want to wage war. And he's thrown into prison, and he's almost lynched, if you remember back. I believe it was the 22nd chapter of the book of Yirmiyahu. Continuing verse 23, Yihi shulchanam lifneim lefach Uleshlomim limokesh. May their table be a trap for them and a snare for their allies. Interesting idea. The idea of the table as being a trap, a table, a place where you get together with your friends, where maybe he believes that that they're sitting around the table and they're eating and they're drinking and they're enjoying themselves, and at the same time, that is where they're planning their destruction of David, their destruction of the author. So let that be their trap, and let that be their downfall. And maybe it's a sense of their arrogance. They're sitting at the table. Tech shachna einehem me'erot umatnehem tamid hamad. May their eyes grow dim so they cannot see. May their loins collapse continuously. Shvach alehem za'amecha v'charon apcha yasiyem. So, right, pour out your wrath upon them. May your blazing anger overtake them. And right, this language reminds us of a phrase that we have in the Haggadah, Shvoch chamotcha l'goyim, right, that God, we've been abused too much as the Jewish people by others. You know, the gold medal of victimhood might go to the untouchables in India, but the Jews would probably get the silver medal. And right, we times, and I've said this before, we're not the ones. We're saying we're not going to take out our anger and our wrath. We'll ask God, you take the anger and the wrath over you. Those who do not like that line in the Haggadah, but that's beyond our scope today. 26, verse Chavav, Tihi tiratam neshama be'ohalehem al yihi yoshev. May their encampments be desolate. May their tents stand empty. Ki ata asher hikitza radafu ve'el machov chalalecha yisaperu. Because they persecute those you have struck. They talk about the pain of those you've defeated. Tna avon al avonam va'al yavo b'tzidkatecha. Add that to their guilt. Let them have no share of your righteousness. Right there, they're sitting there and talking about how I, as a person, or I, as the Jewish people, have been right. They've struck us down, and how joyous they are about it. And they're sitting there with their in a sense of arrogance. And now, don't let them share in your tzedek, in your righteousness, in your tzedakah, God. Yimachu misefer chayim v'im tzadikim al yikatevu. May they be erased in the book of life and not be inscribed with the righteous. So, and here it's an interesting thing. Why would we even believe? Why would we have any thought that people who are so vindictive and enemies of the Jewish people or enemies of David would be written in the book of life, in the book of the righteous with the first one? But maybe it's supposed to, that we can think that the average person will be written in the book of the righteous. I know that sort of contradicts the idea in the Talmud that talks about the three books, and one is the Sefer Beinonim for the people in the middle. But here it sounds like everybody could get into the book of the righteous in a sense. We have that verse as well. V'amech kulam tzadikim li'olam yershu aretz. Continuing verse 30. V'ani v'choev yeshuatcha Elohim tisagveni. But I am low. I'm in pain. Help me, God. Keep me safe. So now we've gone back from the enemies and back to my desperation. Ahalala Shem Elohim Bashir va'agadlenu v'toda. I will sing God's names with songs. I will sing his praises. I will bring him glory. Vatitav l'Adonai mishor par mikran mafris. Songs that will please God more than oxen, more than bulls with horns and hooves. And these verses, it's hard not to think of the idea of prayer taking the place of sacrifices. Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim, amongst many other reasons, one that's most quoted, prayer is a more purified, sort of a better way to approach God than through an animal, more emotional. It's a part of the idea of humanity getting better and more refined. And here, my prayer is better than the bulls, is better than the oxen. Ra'u anavim yismachu. Dorshei Elohim vichi levavchem. The lowly will see and they'll rejoice. You who are mindful of God will see it, and will see that God has redeemed us. Ki shomea elev yonim Adonai bet asirav lo vaza. Something that we've had in the previous chapter, that God listens to the yitomim, and here as well, God listens to the needy. God doesn't spurn his captives. Yahalalu shamayim va'aretz yamim v'chol romeis bam. Heaven and earth will call out to God. The seas and all that moves in them. So here I've gone, and this is the hope in the chapter. The water is up to my neck. I'm drowning. There's nowhere for me to place my foot. I'm sinking. There's nothing for me to do. And hopefully God comes and protects me, wherever the author, the me is David, or the author. And now the seas and all that moves into them are praising God. I am not being drowned in the seas. The seas are singing God's praises as well. Ki Elohim Yoshia, we're in 36th Zion, V'yivnei Arei Yehuda V'yashvu Sham V'rei Shua, because God will deliver Zion, rebuild the cities of Yehuda, and those who live there will inherit it. Part again, this chapter, a lot of the personal desperation, but also then going to what seems as the national troubles and national desperation. There we've gone from the individual to the national, thus inheriting Jerusalem. V'zera avadav yinchaluha, v'ohavei shmo yishkenuba, and they're the offspring of these people who will be delivered and brought back to Jerusalem. These people will go and they will dwell, they will possess Israel, and they will live there for now and for all time. So we have a lengthy passage here with a few different themes, but ultimately, from a sense of desperation, we hope we get to a sense of true security for us and well into the future.